Hey everyone, I'm Steve from GamersNexus.net, and I'm joined by Julian Reyes, Fusion's lead VR producer working on Mars 2030. So we saw Mars 2030 yesterday or the day before in the keynote, and can you sort of bring everyone up to date? What is Mars 2030 before we dive into the details?
Yeah, Mars 2030 is basically a culmination of the latest in research that NASA has been working on for a mission to Mars. We integrated it into Unreal Engine to create an experience for everybody to kind of become an astronaut and go on Mars.
And this is more gameplay side questions. So we were talking about this pre-interview where, as many of the viewers know, a lot of the VR experiences right now are cool for sort of a limited time, then you sort of run out of things to do. What I played very limitedly with the Mars 2030 demo seems more open world. So what's sort of your game design philosophy? What are you planning to have for people to actually do in game?
Okay, and I'll backtrack a little bit and add something to that. So the whole purpose is to make you feel like an astronaut. You know, so when you're in this experience, you have the freedom of going and exploring Mars and going on different missions. So in that process, it having an open world environment really just doesn't confine you to this track where you have to go and explore, and instead you're traveling a few miles out and you discover these like a lava tube opening that takes you to different places, and in that I think there's a lot of excitement because not only is it an open world, but the things that you find challenge the expectations of what you'd expect to find on Mars, and we really want to do that because when you play any Mars or when you see Mars, all you see is the red planet. But we want to go a step ahead of that and say, okay, well, what else? What are the highlights? What are the compilation of the best of Mars? And so you get to see all those things in the experience.
Very cool. What about missions and things like that?
Yeah, so we're building out several different missions for our full release. Each one addresses a specific goal for NASA's reasoning to go to Mars. One of them is to basically uncover Mars's history and look for the existence or past existence of life. And then the other is ultimately to kind of the first baby step in establishing a human presence on the red planet or on other planets. It's the first step into doing that.
Right. And this graphically was comprised of, I guess, photogrammetry of sort of satellite flybys.
Yeah, we used a lot of data that NASA pointed us out to. University of Arizona's HiRISE data, which they've flown satellites over to Mars and captured the closest data to get the most realistic landscape as possible.
So that's an interesting point, is realism, since we obviously haven't personally been there.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with things like color accuracy or physically making the object or the interactions with the rover? How do you deal with that being as accurate as possible?
We fact check almost everything. We have tons of reference imagery. We're using the real Martian colors with some of the Mars images that you see now. That they add a little bit of blue to be able to distinguish different rocks that you see on Mars. So, but we want to be as true to life as possible. And even though no one's ever been on Mars before, we're aiming to put you on Mars as best as possible.
So that's all in Unreal Engine 4, right?
That's correct.
And is there anything special you're doing with sort of Jensen brought up physics, so physical simulation of the rover wheels? Did you talk to NASA about that, or how did you figure that out?
No, we actually got to drive the rover at Johnson Space Center, and we got a feel for what it was and how it works. And then some of our developers put together a NVIDIA physics system to be able to kind of map out each individual wheel. And since the rover, for purposes of never getting stuck anywhere, because you don't want to get stuck on Mars, basically it can rotate and it could also strafe. So you have to integrate that, and there wasn't that previously, and we had to kind of put that all together.
Very cool. What about So you were talking about color accuracy using these different, I guess, looking at like a blue filter to bring out more detail on the rocks. What about things like PBR and lighting? What sort of advanced graphics technologies are you using?
Well, in terms of lighting, we've been kind of deciding on whether we're going to use dynamic or baked lighting. It's just an issue with frame rate in VR. We definitely want to push on the visual output, and so we've opted for one stationary light that basically illuminates the whole experience, and a lot of our environment artists have been working to kind of add PBR to all the models, including the habitat. We were working to get PBR there, just so it comes to life, and it really makes a difference when you start adding those elements in.
Right. So, in terms of development timelines, things like that, you guys looking to support the Vive and the Rift? When are you looking to launch?
Yes, at the moment we want to be as device agnostic as possible and let everybody enjoy it, and not only have a VR version but a non-VR version as well, so that anybody that just wants to be an astronaut can give it a shot.
How about release window?
We're aiming at October of this year.
Very cool. So for more information, hit the link in the description below, and we've got an article from the initial unveil of Mars 2030 with Steve Wozniak. That was pretty fun. And then more information from today. So check that out. And as always, Patreon link the post-roll video to help us out directly. And I'll see you all next time.